So I took this picture, and with a colleague of mine whom I work with at the Latin American Center for Investigative Journalism, who is Jose Peña-Redonda, who is a specialist in OSINT techniques, and specifically in the detection, right, of the use of artificial intelligence for image modification. And then Jose ran the image through several software programs, right? I'll mention here Gemini, Hive, Moderation, Sign Engine. Was it all Imagine Whisperer, just so we could detect the possibility of artificial intelligence being used? Besides that, because using artificial intelligence is one way to modify the image, another way to modify the image would be to create a fake composite, a crude one, right? So then with other types of checks and everything else, we looked at the details of this photo. So the first job was actually to find the image, and then for us to see if there was any obvious manipulation, anything like that. And then, so the more we tried, the less we found anything. So it started to become clear that this image was real.
He's the president of the republic who thinks that artificial intelligence is only used to manipulate videos and photos, like that photo that was recently manipulated. I was shirtless, wearing sunglasses, sunburned from the beach, standing next to a guy whose little finger was 20 centimeters long. When they made it with AI, they let his finger get cut off. They joked I should go all out like Lula, who cut off more than just part of his little finger.
I'll check with the guys before we call, since we have another statement from Senator Flávio where he says the pinky finger looks 20 centimeters long. Yeah, I wanted us to be able to fill the screen to see if we can get an accurate measurement of 20 centimeters for the pinky finger.
At the same time the photo arrived, some information also came in about the circumstances of that photo, and that it was taken in 2022 at a hotel in the south zone of Rio de Janeiro. Even now, actually, to attack me, they're saying it could have been in Belo Horizonte. And then I started wondering, you know, maybe there are more photos, right? Maybe it's not just this one. Then the problems will stop piling up, right? So at the same time, I started talking to people. I must have consulted more than 10 people. I even consulted people close to Flávio about this situation because I needed to know. And in the campaign at that point, this information about the possibility of that photo already existed. Someone confided in me that they knew it existed, but told me they didn't have access to the image, but they knew about it for some time now, that this could be a problem. And then, since journalism is serious and we need to, right? It's not just about publishing things without checking, without verifying. So I stayed, I reached out to Flávio's campaign team, and I waited there for about 3 hours, actually, because they asked me to do that. No, Juliana, wait, we're going to have a statement, we're going to explain. So the article actually only came out after Flávio spoke up, because I made a point of hearing from him. I want to know the circumstances of this photo. And then the statement, it's a statement that reminds us of Vaza Jato, right? The episode in which the prosecutors from Curitiba and Moro were caught off guard with all the compromising messages about the Lava Jato case, about how they judged, about how they arranged things. And at that time, what did they say? They said this: no, we don't recognize the messages, but if they are true, there's no problem. Flávio's line, maybe he asked Sergio Moro, right? How should he respond? I think the playbook is the same.
But you can always count on the sincerity of Valdemar Costa Neto. That's from Globo, that's from Metropolis. I had already seen this photo over a month ago. Flávio is a politician. He has photos with everyone. I told Flávio about it, and he told me, Valdemar, that must be from way back. I don't even remember. Didn't I say here yesterday that Flávio's video wasn't denying anything? That they were admitting it? And what's the harm? Put the photo on the screen, Sergio. Oh, they've already put it up. What's the harm in taking a picture with someone? None. None. Yes, although Valio Beni and Carlos, I've already mentioned a work here, which I'm going to mention again. Right? In Camera Lucida by Roland Barthes.
Cultural moment.
For those who want to read it, it's Roland Barthes, a semiologist. He wrote wonderful things. His greatest book is called A Lover's Discourse, Fragments. Who could talk about love like that? But there's also Camera Lucida, where he said that photos have punctum. I mean, those are even the points, right? Plural puncta, where the gaze goes. And then when we see this photo of Flávio with the hitman, there are puncta, right? The similar glasses, the same smile, the intimacy. Clearly the photo is taken for someone on this side to show, look, we're buddies, we're close. The idea of a casual photo, with all due respect, I've taken casual photos like, take a picture like this. That's not the face you make. The expression is one of intimacy, but still, obviously, it's not a crime. The thing is, this Flávio right there is the one who took 60 million from Volcaro, supposedly, to make the movie. It's not a crime. You need to investigate where the money went, but there's more. This guy is the one who went to the United States to justify the tariffs against Brazil. And one of the issues would be that Brazil doesn't fight corruption. He endorsed and used the master case. Your problem, among other things, is hypocrisy. The same thing that was revealed, the same mental mechanism in the case of the video you recorded, Flávio, the letter from your father, knowing you weren't allowed to. You're a lawyer and knew you couldn't. Then you record it, then your dad's defense says he didn't know he was being recorded. In other words, Flávio tricked my client. That looked bad for the campaign. Part of Flávio's campaign said, so what do we say now? Stay there because I want to talk about tariffs. They handed Lula a whole campaign. Flávio is tying himself in knots to try to prove it. And this thing about taking your pants off is sometimes bad because there's always someone taking pictures. Yeah, be careful where you take your pants off. Or not. Watch him take off his pants. Is there a picture? No, there isn't. Carlos either. No picture. He's tying himself in knots to try to prove that Lula is to blame for the tariffs. The only one who believes that, or rather, pretends to believe that, is Scaff from FISP. Maybe it's because he's the president of a federation, even though he doesn't own a company. But we'll get there, right? Everything is built on lies. On fraud. Factual. People can have their own opinions, but not their own facts, right? So what they said was a lie. AI generated a fake. Then Valdemar, the straightforward guy, comes and says, yeah, he takes pictures with a lot of people. That's true. And you need to be careful, right, Valton? Because at some point you might end up taking a picture with Valdemar. Can you imagine? You might even shake his hand.